What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Successes Within Reach podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, and this is episode 8, Raising the Bar. We got a special guest this evening. He's an artist, a recording artist, as well as a serial entrepreneur hailing from VA. We got DoeThePaperboy. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody you can join in the conversation and submit any questions or comments to www.facebook.com/SIWR podcast. You can also follow along on Twitter as well. And with that one, let's get started. So, Doe, share with our audience a little bit about your journey. You know, how you got into hip hop, what made you decide to be, a rapper, and then how you branched out into entrepreneurship as well.
Okay, well, starting as a youth, like most, obviously we heavily influenced by the hip hop culture. So I think one of my first songs I ever really heard was Self-Destruction, and the collaborative effort by a lot of artists. And I just was really intrigued by the music, the beat, the movement, and it just kind of moved something inside me. So as a kid, I started, pedaling around with the idea of recording myself and seeing what it sounded like. And I just like creating that something out of thin air, like something that didn't exist before, and you're actually able to express your views. So, over time, I just continued to try to build my craft. And as I got older, I had money to actually start to invest in studio time and things like that. And I just begin to, build myself up as an artist and understand what I wanted to say and who I wanted to be. And then the business side just automatically I inherited it because of the limited amount of opportunities of people reaching out to put me on bigger platforms. So I realized that to be a musician, you needed to understand business as well. So that's how it all ties in.
Nice. All right. So what were your musical influences growing up, and who are some of your favorite artists that's out now?
Growing up, I would have to say, Wu-Tang, obviously Outkast. I mean, you could name hip hop in general. I mean, it was a golden era doing hip hop when like everybody was really dropping good music and the material was good and the atmosphere around music was just so great. And now as I've gotten older, I'm kind of more into like all forms of genres of music. I mean, I really enjoy R&B music. I mean, when it comes down to hip hop, I really like Black Thought, and I'm a really big fan. I've always been a fan of Jay-Z. I like my share trap music as well. And I like to embrace some of the newer artists that come out as long as they got a good sound and nice vibe to their music. So I would just say the culture in general kind of just influences me from all perspectives. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that what I feel like is our era of hip hop was the golden era. You know what I mean? Coming out of that 80s into the 90s. You know what I mean? Like it's no comparison. We had the the Rakims, the LLs, Wu-Tang going up to Biggie and Pac, Jay-Z, and then the emergence of the South coming up, with Cash Money and No Limit and Lil Jon, Outkast, and the whole Dutcher family. Like it's no comparison to it, man.
Yeah, we get to see it all. We got to see the beginning of New York to down south to Midwest to West Coast. I mean, we got to see the whole thing transpire into what it is today. Like as the planet of hip hop was being created, we actually got the chance to watch the Big Bang of hip hop, like the whole theory, manifest itself. So that was dope.
So I got to ask you too, do you think hip hop would have shifted the way it did if Biggie and Pac wouldn't have had their early demise?
Do I ask the question one more time so I can make sure it sinks in?
Do you think hip hop would have shifted? I was saying, do you think hip hop would have shifted the way it did, meaning with the emergence of the South, if Biggie and Pac didn't have their early demise?
I think that definitely left the door wide open for it to, for someone else to come in. I ain't gonna say infiltrate because obviously things have to evolve, but I think that was a major turning point for hip hop when Big and Pac started to rival, and it made it this East Coast West Coast thing. And then then the South said, hey, we got something to say too, and everybody was like, hey, let us chime in, and everybody wanted to add their part. So I do think that was kind of like the gateway for that opportunity to arise.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So now, as a recording artist, you multiple albums in, with your latest project being the Second Harvest. I want to ask you, what are your methods for creating an album, and where do you draw your inspiration from?
So anytime I sit down to create an album, I kind of like just kind of understand where I'm at that point in life. I mean, whether it's from an entrepreneur, being a father, a husband, a son, you know what I'm saying, a friend, all of these different elements, and I just try to find myself in quiet places and listen a lot, you know, to people, conversations, and I just begin to use those things to build. I mean, one song on my album called Saint Joseph. One day, Saint Doe, one of my friends came in. He was like, "What's up, Saint Doe?" And I was like, "Why you call me that?" He was like, "Because I can always count on you for some great advice. Like, you're not gonna tell me what I want to hear. You're gonna tell me the, you know, the truth, and whether whether it's popular or not." So, you know, and it ended up turning into a record. So it's like I'm always got that listening ear open out for nature, whether it's a bird chirping, something to inspire me to create. You know what I'm saying? So I like beautiful views, and I just love listening to all different genres of music. And these things help me create the atmosphere surrounding any album that I put together. So.
That's what's up. That's what's up. On I guess a part B to that, where has been the craziest place that you found inspiration? Like, you know, the crazy spot you've been in, you like, yo, I gotta make a song with that.
The craziest place I found inspiration, man, that's a deep question. I mean, it might have been something as simple as just riding down the street in the car and somebody was bumping something and then the beat hit me. And I was like, what is that? And I looked it up and then I ended up writing a song based off of that. I mean, just it's these like crazy, weird experiences that I find myself in because I go a lot of places. So I always find myself around just all different kinds of people and just different type of atmospheres and just you just never know what could happen. I mean, I don't care. Like I said, it could be a bird chirping, it could be a squirrel running down the street, a dog chasing a cat. It could be anything. I think I made a song called Quiet Emoji one time because somebody, people was talking too much online about some topic that they really didn't have any, you know, like it didn't even matter their opinion, but they just kept chiming in. And I was like, everybody needs a quiet emoji. And I just kind of like end up writing a song like right there in like probably like 2 minutes, the entire song. So
Yo, that's crazy.
yeah. So it's just stuff like that. Like sometimes instead of voicing my opinion online, like in these online forums on Facebook or Twitter or anything, I'll write a song about it, how I feel. That way and protect the feelings of other people and they don't take it so personal. They just listen to the record and if the shoe fits, then they just wear it. So.
Gotcha. All right. Let's jump into your latest project, The Second Harvest. What was the process for creation? You know, what collaborations do you have with other artists or producers? You know, what was your vision for the project?
So going into The Second Harvest, I mean, I had just bought a new crib. I found myself with a lot of space around me, a new backyard, a new deck to stand on, you know, just different views, different people around me, different outside noises. And my back deck is where I wrote a majority of the album. I mean, I'm talking like 6:30 in the morning, almost every day out there on the deck with no shoes on. It's kind of like just creating. And I started to get beats from like who is it? Post. I started to get beats from a guy named IRS, The Crowns. They did all the executive producing. I mean, they really put the whole album together. That synced everything in and made it sound really good. You know, these guys are amazing. This was my first time like working with them in totality, and they'll definitely be doing more of my albums as well as the next one. But it was an amazing experience, man. Like, I mean, from the day one I went into the studio, I mean, we started the album in August, we finished it in November, right? Recording, and they didn't turn it back over to me until like middle of February. So, you know, you just imagine how much time we spent just perfecting records. You know what I'm saying? So I really enjoyed that process. I really enjoyed the recording process, but the whole perfection of the record. I mean, we worked on some records for like a week, 2 weeks, like, you know what I'm saying? Revisiting them. And it was just an amazing experience to see people in their craft operate and really turn a song into something bigger than just words on just a beat. You know what I'm saying? They really made everything. So that was amazing, man. Amazing.
Yeah. So at what point do you listen to a song and you know that it's done? I hear a lot of artists talk about being perfectionists and wanting to tweak this, tweak that, add, a bar here, a bar there, take something out, add something to it. So for you, when you're listening to a song after you've finished recording the album, how do you know, boom, that's a banger right there, we're gonna keep that and add that to the album?
So for this album, I think we ended up recording 19 records. And I think maybe, 5 or 6 didn't make the album. Maybe 4 or 5 didn't make the album. It was just like it got to a point where like everything meshed well together so well. So you take a record, like I had a record called Satellites, and it had this out of the galaxy type vibe to it. And the first time we
Mm,
recorded it, I knew what I wanted it to sound like, but I had no idea that it needed to be live instrumentation. So we kept listening to the beat, like,
mm,
yeah, this is cool, but it needs something more than that. It needs a live, like if you were to go out of space and see a concert, it needs that type of vibe. So we
okay.
just kept revisiting, and eventually it ended up turning into the record that it was. But you kind of know once everybody kind of like listens and they're quiet. And what I mean by that is
Mm,
sometimes we play a record and people are still talking while the record is playing. So to
mm,
me, it doesn't draw enough interest. So that one time when we finally got everything what we thought was perfect and we hit play and everybody was quiet for the duration. And at the end, we just all looked around at each other like, now it's ready. And that's how I kind of
oh, that's
know
what's up.
from my music perspective. It's like if you can talk while you're in the studio trying to create something, like you're being distracted by anything other than what's being played, it's not ready yet.
Mm,
That's just that's my opinion. If it's not distracting you enough to focus in on that something else, then you would know whether it's ready or
nice. Yeah, because like this, it's always been amazing to me. When I look at different interviews of a lot of different types of artists, and they talk about how how much time it takes to perfect that craft. How you can record, like you said, 19 or 30, 40 songs, but you gotta pick a good 12 to 15 for the project. So going through that process of this is a hit, this will be on a mixtape, or I'll put this on just an EP, or whatever the case may be. Like I love listening to people's thought process on that creation process.
not. Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm a big fan of that because sometimes, like I said, this project may take a lot of patience. I mean, to finish in November and not get it turned back into till February. I mean, it was some
Mm,
times where I was a little heated. Like, look, man, stop being so tedious about that one drum or being tedious about that one bell or that flute. But I'm glad
uh-huh.
that it taught me a lot. It's just that things take time, man. Like some people can make an album in a weekend, and that's cool. Like what I'm saying. Like I'm sure I'll aspire to be able to do that too if it was up against the clock. But like
Mm,
you just don't know. Recording 3 months and then mixing for 3 months and mastering for 3 months. You don't know how much better how much more you can pull out of a record when you take the time to perfect it.
mm. So, what would you say
So.
is the biggest difference between the first Harvest project and then this one with the second Harvest?
So the first harvest, the main difference is I recorded it in about 4 or 5 different studios because I was trying to chase a sound. Like I was looking
Mm,
for something. Like I was like, this is it. No, that's not it. This is it. So I kept going to all these different studios in front of these different producers, and I just couldn't get what I needed.
mm,
So when I got to the second harvest, I was actually able to bring everything to one place and build with the crowns. And like even to this moment now, we have our own studio together because the chemistry was so great. Like a couple months later, we ended up opening up a studio, which is we opened like 3 or 4 months ago, and we found this chemistry among us that I've never really had before with anybody in
mm,
music. And I've been doing music for a while, but they just get me. Like what I'm saying. Like if I say, "Hey man, send me over some beats," they know exactly what I'm looking for at the time of my life.
mm,
Like they're very current with what I'm doing on social media, who I am as a person, and they're able to create those things into beat form, and then I'm able to spill my thoughts.
mm. All right. And also, I want to ask you, what would you say has been the greatest factor of your maturation process as a lyricist? I and looking at all of your albums throughout your career, each one you've raised the bar.
Yeah,
So to say, no pun intended, but you raised the bar on each album.
absolutely.
Lyrical content, metaphors, storytelling, the whole 9 yards. So what would you say has been the greatest? Uh, Proponent to increasing in lyricism and storytelling for each project.
And to be honest, it's when I used to work with the rock bands and stuff like that, we used to tour a lot, and we found ourselves in front of a lot of multi diverse audiences. I mean, kids,
Mm,
adults. So obviously in hip hop, there is a disrespectful element to some of it. Like what I'm saying. I mean,
mm,
we say certain words, we address things a certain way, and what I decided to do was kind of remove all of the explicits out of my music. And what that did over time was it allowed me to not lean on so many cliche words to speak or advocate for a message. So I was able to actually be a little more clever with wordplay and things like that because I didn't have these things to lean on. So it actually expanded my vocabulary and allowed me to search further into just myself and just lyricism in general, just overall communication, because you're communicating something anytime you create a
Mm-hmm.
song or something like that. So it allowed me to be better at embracing the thought of everybody listening. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be able to go to church and hit play on one of my records. And even the pastor at church said, "Hey, you can actually play that here. Like that's okay. I wouldn't mind my son listening to that." Or the hardest cat in the street saying, "Hey man, I listen to Doe, even though he don't say all this crazy stuff, but I get him deeper in this song than maybe you do. I relate it. It makes it more relatable when everybody can hear it. You know what I'm saying? It's very
Gotcha.
relatable. So I think relatability is one of the greatest and strong suits of my lyrical ability and what it has grown into. Being able to express myself without the intent of like eliminating anybody to be a listener. So
No doubt.
that's what I
No
think.
doubt. That's what's up. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you're live on the Successors Within Reach podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, and we're live with DoeThePaperboy. We're about to take a short break, and we'll be right back. I'm ready to get the ball. All right, and we are back. So now I want to ask you a little bit about the entrepreneur side of Doe. So at what point did you have the vision to venture into entrepreneurship and add that to your repertoire aside from your music?
So once again, being out with the rock band and traveling and understanding marketing myself and just kind of like expanding who I am. Like music is one thing, right? That's one element. People will
Mm,
say, "Hey, I'll pop your CD in, I'll rock out." But there are other elements that go into branding something, someone, or anything. So those things,
mm,
headbands, do rags, whatever you decide to sell. So they kind of challenge me and say, "Hey, Doe, while we out here doing all these shows on the road, other than just your CDs, what else can you offer to the people?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They was like, "Well, you see, we got buttons, we got T-shirts, we got rubber bands, we got all kinds of stuff. I mean, we
mm,
got product. What is your product?" So I was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know who I am as an artist." So at that time, Doe the Paperboy was just Doe the Paperboy. I mean, the bike wasn't even a thought then. So over time, listening to some older people and being more wise, and they're saying, "Hey, why don't you adopt a bike into the concept of who you are?" And once I kind of,
mm,
adopted that, then the drive over everything message started to stick, and people understood what I meant by that. And I just went on this tear, just creating anything I can get my hands on, whether it was trading cards. I mean, I got my own sneaker, whether it was watches, anything, iPod, not iPods, MP3 players,
mm,
all different types of things with my name on it. And then, over time, excuse me, the band came back and was like, "Listen, we didn't even expect you to OD like that. I mean, everywhere we go, we see Doe hoodies everywhere. Like, man, you
yeah.
are killing it out here." So, I was like, "Well, wow, that's crazy," because it's some people that support me that have never bought a CD, but they'll buy a hoodie. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So I was like, "Well, let's not limit myself to just making music. How about we just turn this into just one big idea of who Doe is? And if you don't embrace the music, maybe you embrace the brand." You know what I'm saying? Because
mm,
to be honest, my brand is not really a clothing line. It's more like merch. So, as we talk about that, further in the podcast, I plan on relaunching it as an actual clothing brand so people can get a better understanding of what it is. Because I've never did an official photo shoot for it.
mm,
I've never really sat back and thought about marketing. It was just like, you got to show, you need merch, and
mm,
I just take it, I create it, I put it out, and before you know it, the demand became so popular that I had no choice but to release it during normal times, even when it wasn't a show. And it just kind of grew its own thing and it became its own thing. Like the people actually created Doe into what it is. Even to this day, I still do well with the brand, even though I don't go online marketing every day. I could be better at that. I'll be honest, but it's become its own thing. It's grown into its own thing. So that's what ended up happening with that.
Yeah, it's been wild just watching that whole journey, man. Because like I remember when you first started it, and it was like hey, pick up a hoodie here, pick up a t-shirt there,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, you see it all over social media. And, people out in China, taking pictures with their hoodie
Great,
on it.
great
You know,
China. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like he's really on to something here.
Yeah. it got out of control. I'm not gonna front. It got to a point where it was like I wasn't sleeping. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was just up. I mean, one day I left the house with 30 hoodies, right? And I was gone for maybe like 2 hours. When I came back in the door, I came running in and I didn't have a hoodie on. And my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, she was like, what happened to you? What's going on? I was like, oh, somebody bought the hoodie off my back. I got to come home and get some more stuff. So I had to put another hoodie on because it was cold. And I had boxed some more stuff and ran out again. I mean, I could literally, I had to watch when I posted, because if I post right now, I got product, my phone would go crazy. Oh, somebody just commented, I love my purple and gold dope sweatshirt. I appreciate that. That's what's up. That's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, man, it's this message, man. This dope message is like, it's a testimony, man. Like, it's an amazing thing. And I just thank God for allowing me to, bring it into the earth in this form that it is, because it's helped me a lot. And I've actually been able to meet so many cool people and advocate on behalf of that message. And then they tell me what it means to them and how it got them through so much. So I got to always push for it. You know what I'm saying? It's just so important to me that people understand that message and embrace it.
No doubt. I can definitely say I've been out, with a hoodie on and somebody stopped me and they think it's about like a truck driver company or something like that, or like for 4-wheelers or something. And then, I tell them about it and they're like, oh, damn, that's what's up. Like, I never thought about that, like, hey, we all got a story to tell, life hits all of us in different ways. You got to keep drive over all of it and keep pushing,
Absolutely, man. Amazing.
All right. So what are some of the ups and downs of creating and maintaining a clothing and merch line? Like, now it's become so popular. You see everybody got t-shirt lines and, people trying to drop merch, whether it's for entrepreneurship or just, it's a part of a brand, or whether it's just to make some extra money on the side. But a lot of people really don't know it's a whole lot of work that goes into it. So what are some of the ups and downs that you went through?
So basically, like I was just telling you, it had got to a point where I would say that we really got running really hard in 2000 and probably like 11 or 12. And it got to a point where like I literally wasn't sleeping at night. And I'm talking about everything was rush for me all the time, because somebody always wanted something. It was always somebody in my inbox asking for the brand. So obviously you have to get a good supplier to supply you with materials. And then you got to have a good source of people that can actually create it for you, because you can't do everything. You can't take the orders, make it, and then run it to people. So I think one of the downsides of it is, if you're one of those people like me that's very self-driven and you like to do everything and you want to be a control freak, as I tend to be sometimes, that you'll actually run yourself ragged trying to make it keep up, and then it'll just start to just unravel itself. So I thank God that I was able to endure during that time, and that didn't happen. But it become a thing, and then it gets to the point where, like, I used to tell a lot of people creating brands, don't do it for just the money. I understand that you got to take care of your family and stuff, but there comes a point in time with it that you have to really look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing this for? Like, am I really doing it for the money, or am I like advocating on somebody's behalf, or I'm really putting good energy into the earth? Because I feel like God will ultimately begin to ask you questions about what you create from within when you're a believer. Like, people that don't believe, maybe not, but I'm such a believer that I believe that God eventually will ask you questions about what it is that you created. So, to me, that's an upside of it, because it keeps you focused and driven towards the right path. So, I do think that everybody should explore creating their own brand items and different things like that, even if you just do a short run and just see what it could become for you. You know what I'm saying? But over time, I'd say it's important to remember that you can't do it all yourself, and that it needs to eventually be an operational thing. You got to put people in place that can do it, because you get tired of doing the same thing every day. I mean, even people who cook, I know a lot of people who cook that don't eat their own food a lot of times, because they're like, look, man, I'm cooking over this stuff all day. I know it's good. I know y'all enjoy it, but I'm not hungry. So it's the same thing with me. Like, it got to a point where I kind of got tired of checking my inbox. I mean, I check my message on Facebook to this day. I turn my messenger off sometimes, because I can't keep up with all the things that I've created, because it's just me. I'm just one person. Like, I still got to be a father. I still got to be a husband. I still got to be a son. I still got to be a friend. You know what I'm saying? So, it's so many ups and downs with this thing, but it's all worth it in the end if you organize it correctly.
So, you just brought up a good point. When you're creating a brand, you still have to, like you said, in your case, be a husband, be a father, be a son, and all these things. How do you create that work-life balance?
So with me is, well, first of all, you need to have a partner beside you that's understanding, for
Mm-hmm.
one, and for two, that challenges you. Like my wife challenged me, like, okay, when are you going to take a weekend off? I mean, you've been working every weekend for the last 6 months. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's get out, let's do family stuff, let's do that. And then what you begin to realize is that's just the break you needed to refresh you to continue to move forward. Like, you cannot find yourself in a situation where all you do is your brand and your stuff all day long. That's cool. You can get your family involved, get your kids, you can get your, everybody can be involved in it. But it comes to times when you need to just step back and let it do its own thing. Because like you'll
Mm-hmm.
get burnt out. You'll get burnt out, man. I mean, you just do. I mean, you get tired of doing things repetitively over and over and over again. At some point, the growth has to become so organic that you can get other people. You can just stand back and create the ideas and get people around you to create, and then it just does its own thing. Like you got to get to that
Definitely.
point. You got to get to that point.
Definitely. So now, I want to jump into how did your ventures with AEW and Smart Cups come about? Like this year, I've seen this, it just took off for you. A lot of people are like, oh, the pandemic, this and COVID, that, and my business is this, this, and this. But in your case, you raised the bar and pivoted and took it to a whole nother level with your branding and advertising and creating these partnerships. So, how did these come about? And, how's the experience been for you so far?
It's been an amazing experience. First of all, let me just say that first and thank God for that. Just being in the right position. It's a guy from the area. His name is Mike Ruckers. He's been working for AEW for a while. He's one of the
Mm,
musical directors over there. He creates a lot of the content, as far as music wise, and he's been watching me for years. And he's always challenged me, musically, though, this, that, and the third. So one day he just called my phone and was like, "Hey, I have a unique opportunity. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but let's try it." AEW is looking for somebody to create music for up and coming wrestling. So I create the music. He uses it on TV, TNT, and then he uses it is on YouTube on their YouTube series called AEW Dark. So the third week he goes up to fight Chris Jericho, and they don't use it because Chris Jericho ended up calling him Pineapple Pete. Long story short, and they wanted to rebrand his image, and they just didn't want to use the record. So I got kind of like down about it. So I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. That was my shot. It's over. Blah blah
mm,
blah. So my wife kept me motivated about it. She was like, hey, don't worry about it. Your opportunity will come. That Saturday, I get a phone call from Mikey Ruckers and said, how fast can you get me 24 bars? I said, man, I can get you 24 bars right now. He said, okay. I'm not sure if this is going to happen, but I need you to do a song for Mike Tyson. So I'm like,
uh-huh.
Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson. He was like, yeah, I'm about to send you an email over. The email over, it has the beat and it has everything you need to know what to say and what not to say about Mike. And this is what Mike currently been doing. Here's a few interviews, do some research. Now, luckily, I got good, smart people around me, like one of my brothers named Arbriel. 3 weeks prior to that, he was telling me about an interview Mike did with a couple of people. And I know who Mike is. I mean, I've been knowing him since Mike Tyson Punch Out since I was a kid. So I know a little
Mm,
history of who he is briefly. And then also I always try to stay up to date on who's coming back and what they're doing. So let's thank God for preparation, because when preparation meets opportunity, you know what happens. So I go in
facts.
on my father-in-law, mother-in-law's deck. I write the song in 5 minutes, no lie. Go
Mm,
to the studio the next day, I record it. We get it perfected. We send it over to Mikey. Mikey hits me later on that night and say, "Hey, Doe, I never got the email." I'm like, "What do you mean?" So we had sent it to the wrong email address. So I'm panicking. I'm like, "Hey, we need to get up out of bed right now and send an email." So we get it over to the right email address. I don't hear nothing
mm,
from Mike all day Monday. I get a random text Tuesday. Yo, this is fire. I'm doing the final touches on it. I'm sending it over to AEW. I'll get back with you. Now, mind you, AEW pay-per-view Double or Nothing was that upcoming Saturday. So they don't have a short
mm,
window to get it in front of Mike Tyson to his approval. So
mm,
Wednesday, I get a screen image of Mike Tyson with the music playing in the background. He said they're about to pitch the presentation to Mike Tyson right now. So my heart dropped. I'm like, oh my God, I hope Mike like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this
yeah.
is it. Like, I need this shot. You know what I'm saying? So they send it to Mike. I mean, Mike checks it out. He loves it. He's like, yo, this is dope, blah, 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 blah. So Mike hit me and said, listen, there's still no guarantee that this is going to get played on TV. It just don't, things happen at the last minute. But what I'm telling you is it's pretty much a go.
Mm,
But, just take your time with this thing. Don't get too, emotionally invested in the situation if it doesn't go the way that we want it to go.
mm,
So Saturday morning, I get a Instagram post from Suge D, which they had changed his name to Pineapple Pete, and was like, "Man, you didn't tell me you was doing the intro music for Mike Tyson." So I'm sitting back like, "What are you talking about?" He sends me the arena, and they got Mike Tyson video up there, and they're playing the record in the arena while they're setting up the arena for the fight.
uh,
So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, like this is crazy, like you know what I'm saying. So Mike comes out. Next thing you know, as soon as Mike walks out, CBS Sports, Bleacher Report, USA Today. I mean, everybody's tweeting about it. And guess what music is in the background? My music. It goes to number
Nice.
6 trending on YouTube with my music in the background. So I'm like, I'm hyped. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. So, I'm just sitting back. I'm watching the pay-per-view. The kids, everybody, people hitting me up. Dope, congratulations. So then I get a text message on that Tuesday, like, yo, Mike Tyson coming back again Wednesday, and he's coming out to your record again. And I'm like, what do you mean? So anyway, he comes out on Wednesday to confront Chris Jericho. You know what I'm saying? And he walks out with Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans, I mean, Henry Cujo. It was so many different people, so many popular MMA fighters and stuff like that from UFC and stuff. And he walks out to the music. I mean, like a boss. I mean, he come out knocking stuff over, drinking food. It was crazy. So once again, it goes crazy. So, I'm sitting back, I'm high in the moment, I'm appreciating everything that's going on. So I pay attention to all the energy that's surrounded anything that I'm involved with. So at that point, I feel like Mike Tyson's, he's a legend, man. I mean, you got people all over the world that know who Mike Tyson is. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you can mention his name under a rock, they know Mike Tyson. So now my name is aligned with Mike. So the Smart Cup situation happens because I think Shade Room ended up posting a video of Mike Tyson boxing. He had on his Smart Cups merch. So I'm like, what is Smart Cups? So I do my research on the company. I fall in love with the idea of what it is. So I had my publicist reach out to them and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I've done. I'm a social media influencer. I'm an artist, all these different things. I would love to represent your company. So, it was a small opportunity at first. So they sent me a bunch of free products. So I take the product. They said, hey, endorse the product. Let us know how you feel about it. Long story short. So I took it upon myself to create a song for Smart Cups, right? So I create the song. I shoot a video for it and I send it to them. So they're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is amazing. Like, ask this guy what he wants. I don't want nothing yet. Don't worry about that. So long story short, I ended up sending the guy, Chris Kinnick, I ended up sending him the video on his birthday weekend. I didn't know that. Just the universe works like that. He was impressed. His wife seen it. She watched it like 10 times in a row. They was like, oh my God, we got an actual rap video. So now on one end, I'm hyped because they feeling it. But on the other end, it's things being put in place that I don't even know. Like, you know what I'm saying? That they're really feeling the movement, who I am and what I represent. So in due time, they continue to send me more product. I mean, they're sending me merch, hoodies, t-shirts, tracksuits. And then the opportunity presented itself for me to actually fly to California to Mission Viejo to actually go to the facility. So you know what I'm saying? I flew out, I met him in person, beautiful experience. To this day, we're still very much connected. And it's an amazing thing, man. I mean, when I advocate on behalf of a product, it takes off. I got a lot of my people around me supporting Smart Cups now. I mean, they're buying it, they're liking it. The proof is in the pudding. I'm an influencer. God has given me the gift to be able to influence people, and I try to use my influence in a good way. I don't try to take advantage of it and be negative with it. It's all about positivity, and I only endorse products that I. So that's where we at now, and we'll see what the future holds after this pandemic is over. Maybe Mike Tyson comes back to fight Chris Jericho, and maybe I perform the song as he walks out. Me and Smart Cups got some big plans, and we'll just see where it goes. Yeah.
Hey, we got already speak that into existence, bro.
Absolutely.
Like that is absolutely crazy, man. Like the universe is always working, whether we know it or not, man. Like things are being aligned when you put the right energy out, when you on your grind, you keeping your head up, like you just never know what's coming around the corner. And like I said, and looking at how many businesses have failed throughout this pandemic, and looking at people that have been struggling, and then you see somebody that that seems like they going up and up and up and up. I had to put that question in there, to ask exactly how it came about, because that's two amazing opportunities that have endless potential. Like AEW came out of nowhere. Everybody just knew about WWE. And then you got a group of almost disgruntled wrestlers like, all right, we're going to do our own thing. We tired of being taken advantage of. And it just blew up,
Yeah.
And then Smart Cups is, and looking at the technology behind it is amazing in itself.
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of people have really gotten on to just what it takes to make a Smart Cup. And the tech that's behind it, like it's off the chain. Do you have a promo code you want to share with the people?
Yeah, so if you go to their website, You can type in, first of all, www.smartcups.com. You can type in DOE15, and that'll save you 15% off of your purchase. And they'll definitely do
Nice,
that for you. You know what I'm saying? As a token, of your appreciation, of their appreciation for you as a customer, so, on my behalf. So.
nice. Nice. All right. So, what are your strategies for success and for creating both longevity and sustainability? So many people get into entrepreneurship, and statistically, most businesses fail within the first 5 years. Whether it's burnout or lack of innovation or the wrong product or service out there, and there's just not a demand for it. But you've been in this game for what, over a decade now, between the music and entrepreneurship together. So what is your process for success and creating that longevity?
So I would say, first of all, I would say breathe. And what I mean by breathe is, man, sometimes you got to step back, gather yourself, breathe deep, you know what I'm saying? And then bike, be inspirational and keep evolving. You always want to inspire. As long as what you're doing is inspiring somebody else, the energy that you put out is going to return itself. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
the people that you're influencing, you'll see them grow and you'll see them blossom. And you say, hey, well, where did the fuel come from for you to be so great? Like, I've been sitting back watching you. You kind of motivated me. So those type of things keep you motivated. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to continue to evolve. Like, don't be set in a set of ways that I got to go to college and then I got to do it this way and then it's going to happen this day. No, continue to run the race. It's a marathon, just like Nipsey said. I know it sounds cliche because everybody's using it now, but it really is a marathon. Like, the race is given to those who endure, like the victory is. So you continue to just keep running your path, running your path, running your path. I don't care what pops up on the side of you, left, right, front, back. You got to keep going. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like me, December 25th, I turned 40 years old. Now, in music, as far as music, I'm supposed to be a dinosaur. I'm not supposed to exist. I'm not supposed to be going this long. I'm supposed to give it up 3 years ago. I should give it up today. You know what I'm saying? Let people tell it.
Mm-hmm.
I just got one of the biggest opportunity of my musical career, and I was able to align myself with a pretty much a top 10 legend of all times. Like Mike Tyson is a pop culture, or it's a world icon. He will always be.
Yeah.
Like, you can easily say he's probably in the top 5, top 3 if you want. I mean, you got Jordan, you got him, you got so many different people for our culture. You understand what I'm saying? And I was able to align myself with him by just enduring, just keeping it going, man. If I wouldn't have put that out this year, then the opportunities may have possibly not been there. But not only that, it was just perfect timing, because I could have dropped my album last November and it would have been forgotten about. You understand what I'm saying? It came out at the perfect amount of time, and the sound was so unique that it drew people's attention, and people watch how I market my stuff when I put it out. I take my time with the way I market, and I don't have necessarily a plan, but I have an idea what I want to do, and I just wake up and freestyle. I shoot from hip. Like, if my grind was compared to basketball, I'd be like and one. I'm not an NBA player. I'm an and one player. I got my own moves. I got my own thing. I create my own lane. So, I'll continue to follow those concepts. I wake up in the morning and I want to do something. I'm going to do it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to check with a whole lot of people to see if it's okay and see if it's cool. I'll try it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll try it again and I'll make it work. You understand what I'm saying? So.
That's what's up. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, something to consistency when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like you said, you just never know when the energy is going to be returned that you're putting out there. You just got to keep going and keep going, being willing to take a few hits, take a few falls, get back up and keep it going.
Absolutely.
Like the entrepreneurship game, people don't understand it's chess, not checkers, man.
Absolutely. It's
Like
chess, bro.
I swear it is. Like you have to think, you got to think so many moves ahead. Like a podcast I just not too long ago, I was telling people, like, we're here in November 2020. You should already be done with your first quarter for 2021 planning wise. For a lot of people already into the second quarter of 2021. If you just trying to figure what you're gonna do in January, you late.
Yeah, and because real businesses don't operate like that. Like, if you notice, they normally wrap up the summer shoots in the winter and vice versa. So during this winter time, they're shooting summer. They're in places where it's warm and they're getting the atmosphere correct, and then they drop it. You know what I'm saying? And they continue to stay ahead. That's how businesses. You have to plan ahead for business. You understand what I'm saying? You don't want to be have a deadline the next week and you're just you're getting your product back. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
So,
So as we wrap up, I want to ask, what's next for Doe as you close out 2020 and transition into 2021? Let people know what projects you're working on, what you have coming up with your clothing line, your merchandise. What are you doing to close out this year strong and have a banging 2021?
so basically, first I'm gonna take not necessarily a break because I don't know how to take a break. I'm working my puzzles. I'm always doing something. I'm mentally building myself. I'm turning 40 this year. Like I said, I'm
Uh,
mentally preparing myself for what 40 is. I mean, I have an idea of what other people say 40 is, but mentally and physically, I know who I am at 40. Like, you understand what I'm saying? I feel like
mhm,
I'm in the best shape of my life. Mentally, I'm in the best shape of my life. So as we close out this year, I'm gonna start to expand on what I think 3 is, and what I mean by 3, that's the next harvest. I'm definitely going
mhm,
to. That's the name of the next album, 3. So once that comes out next year, I'm already planning for that. You'll just see a bunch of stuff just start to blossom around it. I mean, you're gonna have a relaunch of Doe and Bike of what it is. It's gonna be official this time with the official photo shoots. I mean, I'm gonna make everything count. Like, I'm gonna do it. I
mhm.
know what I have to do, but now I do it on purpose. Like, I've never did an
Yes,
official
sir.
photo shoot with my brand. I've never tried to stick by the book. So I'm gonna go by the book a little bit and be ahead. Like I said, I'm gonna, when it's warm, when it's cold outside now, I'm gonna be doing my shooting for the summer. And next summer, I'm gonna be doing my shooting for the winter. I'm gonna be getting my product in. I'm
Mhm,
gonna be prepared. I'm gonna understand colorways of certain seasons so I can always stay in
mhm,
season with that. I'm gonna continue to educate myself with business, and I'm gonna continue to align myself with other brands and continue to build my social media platforms. And not only that, I'm gonna continue to do things like this because you had reached out to me a while back and you was like, hey, dude, let's get on the show, whatever. And I didn't take it lightly. I never take those type of things lightly. But it's like when I get caught up doing something like puzzles, for example, it's like it takes all of my time. And then I come on your
mhm,
platform and me communicating with you reminds me of the journey that I've been on and how important it is for me to
mhm,
continue to speak about it and advocate on behalf of it and understand that that's a form of content too. Like, no
mhm.
matter what you do, it's always levels to it. Like right now, me and you
Yeah.
talking, that's the book format. Like, this is when a person want to pick up your book and say, I want to really see who Doe really is. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people out there that need that element from you. So I have to stop denying myself the privilege of speaking to people like you, or feeling like I don't deserve to be heard. And I appreciate you for having me on here, man. Even though I know we're gonna get to that later. Just want to thank you for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Because you're doing something serious with your business, and I know who you are as a person, and I watch you on social media, and I'm like, yo, this guy is about it. He's really understanding what business is and wants to be the example of leading people in the right direction on business. So, I had to take my hat off to you just for having me in the first place, man. So,
Appreciate
you know,
that.
no problem.
Appreciate that. And also let the people know where they can find you on social media as well.
Okay, so obviously on Instagram you can follow me or find me at DoeThePaperboy, which is Doe the Paperboy. On Twitter, which I rarely tweet. I might tweet out a little something every now and again, a joke or something silly. Doe Hoodie, DoeHoodie 804.
Mhm.
Now, if you really want to have fun, follow me on TikTok, which is Doe the Paperboy PG. PG stands for Pedal Gang, and that's what all my supporters, they or their family. I don't just call them supporters; they're my family. We're the Pedal Gang. That's what we
Mhm.
call ourselves. We're all in this race together, this bike race together. We're gonna all continue to keep on pedaling. So, you can also find me on Facebook, Doe the Paperboy. Then my last name Thurman, THURMAN. Find my albums on Tidal, Spotify, Amazon Music. Just Google my name. Actually, throw me in on Google. I'm a little bit of somebody. You know what I'm saying? So just check me out on there, and I think you'll be kind of inspired, by what I do and who I am. You know what I'm saying? So
Gotcha. Yeah, I see you got one of your pedal gang followers in here. Shauna
yeah,
Phelps been
my
commenting
favorite.
throughout the show.
Yeah, that's Twin. That's Twin. I call her Twin, man. That's what we call her, man. Yeah. So that's my dog right there, man. I appreciate her, you know what I'm saying, as being a member of Pedal Gang. Right now, we kind of moving kind of slow because it's a pandemic, but eventually I have big plans for my Pedal Gang family, man. We're going to host a lot of events and really inspire a lot of people to, join the movement and understand what it is that we stand for and really put a lot of positive light out, different types of events and all of that giving back and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Successes Within Reach podcast with Doe the Paperboy. Again, you can find his album Second Harvest on Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, Apple Music, and anywhere that you can stream music. thank you again, fam, for joining us on this episode, man. It's been a fun time, man. Been a long time coming. Hope to have
Yeah.
you back when you drop that next album.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to be back. Anytime you need me on here on a panel, anything, I'm all for it. I love the whole idea of what this is, man. I get it. I see Gary Vee written all over you, whether you know it or not. And it just, I could just see it.
Hey,
I
I'm
see
gonna
it, bro.
claim that. I'm gonna claim
I see it. I see it.
that.
I see it. So keep on pushing, keep on inspiring others, man, and keep being great. God bless you.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's been episode 8 of the Successes Within Reach podcast. You can find us on www.facebook.com/SIWR podcast. You can find us on Twitter as well. Also, don't forget this podcast will be uploaded on Saturday mornings to Anchor, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a few other platforms as well. We hope everybody has an awesome Thanksgiving. Y'all stay safe out there,
Absolutely.
and we will see y'all next week.
Peace.